What's this? How long has a ring been down here? Good to be back. Now, you're an odd surprise, but we got games to play, so we'll figure out whatever's up with this later. Alright, I don't know what's up with the ring thing. Got something else that's golden here, this controller. Shiny gold thing too. We're going to be playing a neat game from 2009, so definitely newer than most of what I've talked about on the show thus far, but still really cool, and that's 3D Dot Game Heroes. Now this was a fun little game that I remember liking quite a bit, developed by Atlas. Very cool, it's like retro inspired, but also, you know, modern, the best of both worlds, but you know, let's get into that, but maybe we don't get into that. Maybe we talk about this ring instead. I mean, the ring is really cool, right? I'm getting distracted. Not talking about the ring. We're going to talk about 3D Dot Game Heroes. Let's get into that. But what? That's true. 3D Dot Game Heroes doesn't have nice golden rings in it. What is up with you? Oh, I do like it though. I mean, this is probably better to talk about if we're being honest. This ring here. This is better to talk about. No. What am I? Alright, whatever. 3D Dot Game Heroes, let's dive right in. Seems I've arrived exactly when I've meant to. Greetings, I am Gary the Wizard. I'm here to aid in the destruction of the ring.
You're here to take it from me. Well, you can't have it. It's ours. Ours. And we won't let you have it, 'cause it's ours.
Still ours. See?
Ours.
Oh, really? You're already gone crazy? It's only been like 5 minutes, man. Okay, just put the ring down, and I will then assist you with your troubles. Put it down. No, do not put the ring on. Don't put the ring on, I'm warning you. I swear, do not anger Gary the Wizard. Don't put it on. Don't, I swear. Oh, come on, man.
Sucker. Now that I'm invisible, I can just hang out and wait for him to leave.
Are you like the dumbest person in the world? Take the ring off! Now, as I was saying, I'm Gary the Wizard. The ring is not the true form of this concentrated evil. It takes that form to entice people into taking it, upon which then it feeds on their souls. No, the true form is something much more sinister, which I will now reveal. Behold, evil's true form.
Oh no. No. That can't exist. It's impossible.
You must complete this journey. This task falls to you. Complete it, and the evil will be weakened, and it may finally be destroyed.
Well, that's great and all. Thanks for showing up and whatnot and all that, but not my plan today. I don't want to play what's probably going to be a crappy licensed game, because any movie tie-in games, they're just not great, at least until a certain point recently, like 2013, I think, is like the renaissance year of good licensed games, and that's clearly not from 2013, so I don't think I want to partake. But, you know, have a good trip, because I'm going to play some 3D game heroes. That's my plan.
This is your task now to uphold. I entrust you with it.
Fine. I am a fan of Lord of the Rings, and I must admit, I never knew that such a fascinating object existed prior to the Jackson films, inspiring a whole generation of video games, so mine as well, and if it rids the world of evil or whatever, I guess that's a side perk bonus. So, fine. Let's tackle Lord of the Rings Volume 1 for the Super Nintendo.
I will now consult with those of my order on these updated affairs. I shall return once I sense your journey is nearing its completion. Gary out.
Well, okay, he's gone. Comes and he goes. There's flames on the floor now. Yikes. Alright, before we jump into this quest, journey, walking simulator, who knows what it's going to be? Lord of the Rings could be a lot of things. I think we should first talk about what is Lord of the Rings. Now, I would imagine that everyone watching knows what Lord of the Rings is. It became a cultural phenomenon when Peter Jackson directed his famous Lord of the Rings trilogy in the early 2000s. I remember when each of those movies came out, they were so big, the big like entertainment news channels were like showing off clips of it. I remember very distinctly seeing like a brief scene of the Moria attack sequence when like the doors get broken down and the orcs are coming in, and I'm like 9 years old at the time, 9 or 10 years old, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest movie ever, I have to see it. So yeah, I was growing up in that giant wave of awesome Lord of the Rings content, and those movies, they paved the way for like fantasy stuff that followed. There was like this whole renaissance of fantasy franchises rising up left and right to try to continue on what Lord of the Rings started with its popularity, which also led to a number of video games. There were video games based off of each of the movies, and they're all actually pretty like decent. Return of the King especially, I would say, is a good game, which movie-based games are rarely good, so that's saying a lot. But you cut to like 10 years later and games like Shadow of Mordor come out, and it's just an awesome game. And there's also really cool stuff in between, like War in the North, stuff like that. Lord of the Rings Online are being very popular too. So there's all these Lord of the Rings video games that accompany the movies. So this Super Nintendo specimen is so interesting because it predates the Peter Jackson films, which a lot of the games and like other things that follow, even if they're not trying to be based off the Peter Jackson films, in some way take things from those adaptations. So here's an example of a game, or a medium rather, that should be based entirely off of the novels themselves, or at least the first one. It's Volume 1, so that's Fellowship of the Ring. However, that's not entirely the case. This is in a way, still a movie-based game. It's just not the movies that you're probably familiar with. There's a Lord of the Rings film, actually a number of them, that predate the Peter Jackson films. They're animated. The one that this game takes the most from is the Ralph Bakshi one, which I remember seeing this. I'm not going to go into Ralph Bakshi. That's a whole crazy rabbit hole of insanity that I welcome you all to go into. But this movie is where this game takes its character assets from. The look of the characters in this game are right out of this animated movie. Now, this, unlike this game, is not solely based off of Volume 1 / Fellowship of the Rings. This Ralph Bakshi animated film actually decides to do 2 in 1. This movie's plot takes you all the way to the end of Two Towers. Now, for Peter Jackson, that's a journey that'll take you about 4.5 to 5 hours. This movie doesn't half the time. As a result, it's kind of a mess. It's a decent film. I think it's uplifted by its voice acting. You got the legendary John Hurt as Aragorn. Like, awesome. Aragorn's cool in this movie. So is Frodo. He's brave and cool. There's a lot of differences between this and the Jackson films. There's even some cool scenes in this movie that are directly recreated in the Jackson film as a fun little homage to what came before. Because this was like the biggest Lord of the Rings thing before the Jackson trilogy came out. Anything else in the time is pretty inferior to this. Like there's a Return of the King one. It's super bad, but this movie is also unique because it does something else. It's not good enough to just be animated. It's called rotoscoped animation. They actually filmed it with like actual actors, then they drew over it. Sometimes that leads to scenes looking silky, buttery smooth, and very nice to look at. Other times it just looks like a bad Photoshop filter over guys. So it's kind of hit and miss, but it's a cool technology. The point of all that is, even back in the late 70s, Lord of the Rings were still doing landmark things for their movies. Because the Jackson trilogy, even if you don't like those movies, it's hard not to respect the scale of the production and the work that went into making those films. It's a monumental achievement in filmmaking. And even back in the 70s, there's an animated film doing the same thing. Trying out some new experiment to be the first film ever to be 100% rotoscoped. Which makes you wonder, they probably should have just made a live action movie. They had all the actors there for every scene, so. But hey, still cool. So, to rope it back into the game, it makes the game kind of a licensed game because it does have some ties to that movie in its like aesthetics for its character. Other than that though, doesn't follow it that much, but it is interesting that it didn't want to be wholly original with its interpretations of the characters. It still draws upon something previously. Something that was 20 years previously, which is interesting because I wonder how many people were really aware of that at the time when they played it. I noticed it right away. I thought the characters looked really familiar. So, okay, without any further delay, let's jump into Lord of the Rings Volume 1 for the Super Nintendo. So the game opens up by giving us the backstory of Lord of the Rings, much like how every film has thus far, talking about Sauron and the evil ring and the other rings of power and the war to fight him. Only unlike all those other things, this one is purely text. My God, don't you know the rules? Show, don't tell. Can you imagine if you were watching like Star Wars, like Episode 5, instead of seeing the whole Empire attack on the base at Hoth, the movie starts when they're all off the planet and everything prior was like 5 minutes of text talking about how that's what's happening? That's what's happening here. I don't want to be told about Sauron forging the One Ring of Power and using it to corrupt people. I want to see that. Even if all it is just little sprites goofing around, that's still better than this, because it just keeps on going. It just won't stop. It just doesn't stop. We just gotta wait and see. I don't want to miss anything important by skipping it. If it can be skipped, I'm not even sure, but just see where it goes. Let's also take a second to soak in this soundtrack. This like uppity flute band thing. Yeah, this is totally the right kind of music when I see words like 9 to men who are doomed to die. This is the soundtrack that should definitely accompany that kind of gravity of a statement. What? They couldn't think of any other soundtrack that was appropriate for the opening of this game? Sauron's making the Ring of Power. He's gonna take over the world. He's basically Satan. Like, seriously, this is all kinds of just horrific wrong. Very, very wrong. So after the book part, the music is still ceaseless with this flute garbage. We now get to a very familiar scene where Bilbo decides he's going to leave. He puts on the ring to be invisible. Everyone freaks out. He leaves, and he's gonna pass the ring to Frodo. So Gandalf explains that Frodo must take the ring and get it safely to Rivendell, and he'll meet him in Bree. What's really weird here is that Gandalf leaves before making Bilbo give up the ring. Bilbo gives the ring to Frodo after Gandalf is gone. Yeah, that's a good idea, because we all know what happens when you leave two hobbits alone to figure out who the ring should go to. I'm sure that would have ended spectacularly if this was played out any other way. But Frodo now has the ring, and we now get control of our main character and can start the game proper, finally. The game begins with us in control of Frodo in the lovely little town of Hobbiton, and this is where we finally figure out what kind of game this is. It's like an action-adventure, top-down kind of game, sort of like, Zelda-esque in its execution, with a lot more RPG elements. You can move around, you can attack, you have a parry move that lets you block enemy attacks, and you level up when you defeat enemies, raising your stats. So the further along you go, the stronger you get. So that's alright, that's perfectly suitable for Lord of the Rings. It's a very adaptable franchise that lends itself very well to many different types. This is probably the most logical to shoot for out of the gate. So we can explore the town and talk to people, and they tell us kind of random things here and there. The most interesting of which is talking about how there's someone that intends to bring great harm to Frodo. It's the ring wraiths, I guess. Like, the news has already traveled, like, hey, Frodo, someone wants to come here and just beat the shit out of you because you got that ring, so you better watch out. Like, we're already getting the news of that, which is strange, but hey, alright. We can find Sam in the town, but he won't join us quite yet because he has the ever-important quest of finding Old Man Gaffer's glasses. So, I got this ring. It's like the essence of Sauron, the most evil thing in the whole world. I gotta bring it to Rivendell, because I gotta destroy it, man. He's gonna take over the world. I'd love to join you, Frodo, but I gotta find this old guy's glasses. That's the more important thing out of these two things, clearly. Okay, I love the tone. So, we already got our first kind of quest. Find the guy's glasses. Well, what else can we do? Where's Merry? Where's Pippin? The other hobbits that accompany Frodo as he leaves the Shire. Well, there's no Merry. He's not here yet. We can find Pippin, though. He's waiting for us in a field above. And this is our first exposure to, like, the overworld of the game. There are little town areas that you can find, but then there's also the overworld in between. So, the overworld, we get the music shift. The music is far more sinister in this area. This is more fitting to what could have been playing during the opening sequence as opposed to the other crap. But we encounter our first enemies, wolves. So this is where you get your first taste of combat and how leveling up works. At first, taking down a wolf takes multiple hits. After you defeat a handful of them, you'll level up a couple of times and you'll feel stronger pretty quick. It doesn't take long before you're able to defeat most enemies in one blow, which is interesting because it feels satisfying, but also wolves and bats and stuff, these one-hit killed enemies, snakes as well, that's like 90% of the enemies that I encountered throughout this entire game. The entire Lord of the Rings lexicon to draw from, and you will have to face down the mightiest snakes and bats and sometimes wolves in your journey. Treacherous. So that's kind of a bummer, but okay. We can find Pippin, and we can recruit Pippin, which is great. Now we have a party of 2. Now, this is where it gets kind of weird. So, finding Pippin, he joins the party. Where you go, he follows. He'll attack kind of autonomously as well, but you can manually control him by holding the R button on the controller. That then shifts control to Frodo, or from Frodo to him. While you're holding the R button, the D-pad will make that character move around. When your party gets bigger, it kind of controls like all of them at once, more or less. So you can control Frodo directly and then hold the R button to take over controlling Pippin manually here. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, the autonomous behavior of the party members isn't that great. You're going to want to take manual control the bulk of the time because they don't always react to the best enemy attacks that are coming at them from the side of the screen. In fact, he barely ever does. So if you want to keep him alive, you better get the manual control thing figured out, which is a little hard to do under pressure. If you're attacking your own enemy, another one comes in, you gotta take manual control for a second. It's hard to do. So, okay, well, we got Pippin, killed some wolves. What's next? Well, now I suppose the thing to do would be to go and figure out where the guy lost his glasses so that we can recruit Sam. Before doing so, I suppose it would be wise to focus on leveling up Pippin some. That's right. Party members level up separately of Frodo himself. So this is now like Pokemon without XP share. So I was already like level 4 or so-ish, level 3 or 4 I want to say, when I first got Pippin here. So I can already take out wolves in like 1 or 2 hits. Pippin cannot. It takes him like, 5 or 6 hits to take out wolves. So if I want him to get stronger, I have to take manual control and make sure he's the one that gets the kills, not Frodo. Which is difficult and lends to him getting hit quite a bit. He's taking a lot of damage. It's really hard to figure this stuff out. So maybe I'll just worry about that in other environments. We'll leave the screen. Oh! Uh-oh. What happened? He got skeletonized. Oh my god. He's gone. Pippin was killed by wolves! No! Well, it's probably okay. So, yeah, party members can die. That's interesting. Heading back up to where I recruited him, he's not there. Maybe if I leave the area and come back? Nope. Wow. So, here's a shocking reveal. This game has permadeath for your party members. That's right. Pippin has been killed by wolves, and that's where he definitively dies in this version of Lord of the Rings. Didn't even get out of the Shire. He took about 60 steps out of Hobbiton and was torn apart to his bones by wolves. You may be saying to yourself, well, that's not canon. I beg to differ. Have you not seen the Ultimate Edition of Lord of the Rings where Pippin is in fact killed by wolves? I rest my case. Moving on, minus Pippin, because who needs him? He ain't wolf-proof, he ain't worth having. Time to finally find those glasses and recruit Sam. Where are the glasses? Well, we went north to find Pippin, and to lose Pippin, we go west for the glasses, which is where we find the first cave system. Now this sequence of the game is more or less to get you used to the idea of how these labyrinthian sections are going to work in this game, because the game has little safe town sort of areas. There's few of them, but they exist. Then the overworld, and then these caves. Those are your 3 environments. So the first one is right here in Hobbiton, and oh boy, do they get like out of control with this. This system is huge. This is not to train you in how to navigate. They just throw you right into the deep end. This cave system is massive. It's super easy to get lost in. It's really hard to navigate. All I want to do is find the glasses, man. Come on. The other big problem is what adds to the confusion is the repeating of scenery and assets. They reuse the same pathways and scenery bits all over the place. So you'll walk through this one area, think you're making some kind of progress, you have no idea where you're going, but you're going to keep going. Then you encounter the same thing again later on. You wonder to yourself, did I just go in a circle? Well, probably not. They just repeat the same things, the same structures, or just copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. And if that was the overworld, you're just seeing the same tree over and over again, fine, whatever. But when it's like a pathway that adds to a maze, and I'm seeing the same exact things left and right, it confuses the hell out of me. And I want to just find these dumb glasses. Come on. So, wow. We also finally encounter orcs for the first time. You'll find a couple of them down here. They're not too hard to defeat at this point because you're already going to be like level 5 or 6, so 2 or 3 hits and they go down pretty easy. The parry mechanic isn't really even necessary. If you just mash the attack button, you'll be able to interrupt them or automatically parry their attacks by doing so, because 2 attacks seem to cancel each other out when they happen. So just mash the attack button and defeat them and you're good to go. We can find some healing items down here too. It's worth mentioning, as far as I can tell, you aren't able to stack items in your inventory. So if you find some kind of healing mushroom and you don't have full health, it'll automatically use it. If you have full health and you have it, it'll add it to your inventory. When you find the next one of the same thing, it just burns it off. You can't like stack healing items. You can stack the different types of healing items. There's magic mushrooms and magical ferns, stuff like that are healing items. You can have one of each of them, but you can't stack them, which is kind of lame, honestly. But yeah, exploring this dungeon for like 30 minutes, I can find a couple of those kind of healing things to keep me going, and I finally find the glasses. Getting out of here is a nightmare. This whole situation is just awful, just the worst. If there was a map, it would have been much more tolerable. I just don't get why these designers don't put the maps in. I had that same problem with the original Metroid. The original Metroid has a gargantuan world that you have to navigate by blowing up little secret spots to get through. It's crazy to get to that game with no help of any kind, whether it be a strategy guide or the internet, whatever. So here I am again, and to add to the frustration, we got situations where we're copying and pasting the assets. All right. It cost Pippin his life, but I got the glasses. So let's go tell Sam the good news, and we can get out of Dodge. You may be wondering if getting Sam is even required. Well, it technically is. So there's a lot of things that you can skip in this game, because it is like kind of open with certain aspects of its design. You can kind of walk anywhere you want once this gate's going to be open here. But to get out of the gate in Hobbiton, you do have to find the glasses to give to Sam, who has the key that opens up that gate. So no matter what, you got to at least recruit Sam. But like, Pippin was optional. He's dead now. Wow. Okay. Get the glasses, get the key, open the gate, and we are off into the wonderful world of... It's not that great because of the music and the tone. It kind of feels kind of apocalyptic, to be honest. But here we are, and right out of the gate we got problems because Sam's brain is broken. He doesn't move, so... You know... Thought I was going good there, but Samwise the Brave, Samwise the Frozen, he ain't going nowhere. So I'm on my own, even still. Lost Pippin, and I guess it traumatized Sam so much he's too afraid to move. He just took one too many steps from home. He refuses to make that next step to be the farthest away. It's over. So gotta do it on my own. We get 2 directions we can go through here. First direction is down. We go down, there's actually a fair amount of real estate to cover going down. What do we have below us? Well, it's a new area. The music finally changes. It's not one of the 2 awful tracks we've been subjected to so far. Plenty of wolves, of course, plenty of snakes. Awesome. We get some kind of clues to some nearby areas, talking about some kind of nearby farm that's under attack by wolves, apparently. So some vague clues as to other objectives to be found out here, but I've gone everywhere. I've gone all the way down. I've checked the edges of the screens. I don't know where else I can go here. I don't see any obvious places to go left or right from. So maybe the farm is somewhere else that this thing's talking about. So going back up, what happens if we go to the right? Well, we can cross a bridge here, but Sam says, I wouldn't do that, Frodo. I just wouldn't. Yeah, what would you know, Sam? You don't even know how to walk. You just stand there in between screens dragging you to the start. So what happens if we keep going? Well, the ring wraiths will attack, and they are strong. They will skeletonize Frodo with a heat ray blast the moment they attack him. You can't even bother fighting him. So okay, can't go east, can't go down. I'm already now. Come on, man. I just want to figure it out. It was like 90 years waiting for the opening to be done, and then the caves are awful, and Pippin died. Well, I genuinely don't know where to go, so can we get past the ring wraiths? Well, it took me a couple of tries, but yeah, if you get yourself toward the lower half of the screen, the way that they spawn in, you can do it. All 9 of them will assail you, but you can get past them. If you get past them, we find ourselves kind of in like I guess it's the outer area of Rivendell. The grass changes, we got new types of trees and effects. Can't go too far, because when I get all the way over to as far as I can go to the right, I'm greeted by a guy that says, "Excuse me, sir, but did you get the kerfuffle things that I want for no reason? It doesn't seem that you did." Yeah, we need these things called gateway gems. Gateway gems, I can only assume, are rewarded for completing certain tasks, or just found, one or the other, in the game. So, alright, I fought my way past the ring wraiths for nothing because I can't even go any further without doing whatever's required to get these gateway gems, which I guess that would have begun with the farm? Can we go back the way I came? Yes, you can, but good luck getting past the ring wraiths. The way they spawn, you're gonna get killed. Now, the good news is you'll respawn on the other side of that same bridge, so no worries. So, where's the first of the gateway gems, plural, this guy's talking about? Well, guess where it is? It's in the Hobbit Caves. So, we gotta go all the way back to the Hobbit Caves and figure out where the gateway gem is. You know what? I'm just gonna restart everything. At least see if I can get through it with Pippin to have in the world with me. I wanna experience Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring, with the Fellowship. One of the Fellowship got killed by wolves. The other one's got no brain. This is a mess. So let's redo it all, explore the cave, find the gem, figure out where the farm is, and go from there. Here we go. Reset. Well, after resetting, I got Pippin, got him out of the wolf area, exploring the caves again. Going pretty well. Still a giant labyrinth. It's just astounding how big this cave system is. You'd think that they'd want to ease you in and have it be like a small little thing, like the first dungeon in the first Zelda game. Very small, very manageable. It's trying to teach you how the stuff works. Lord of the Rings, oh no! Hit him with the giant overworld-sized cave system. The cave system is like 15 times the size of Hobbiton and the wolf area combined. Like, it's crazy how big this thing is. Oh, navigating it, going through it. Watch out for the bat, watch out for the bat. Oh, you... First by a wolf, then again by a bat. Pippin. Okay, I have lost patience. So it is just so hard to manage when you only have one other party member. Like, it's crazy how difficult it can be to be mindful about anything, because like sometimes he auto attacks, sometimes he doesn't. You don't know, and that leads to him getting a lot of free shots taken when enemies come by. He's gone, and I can't even find the gateway gem. So it's like, oh, what can we do here? Maybe it is a code. Yes, it should be mine, having the fellowship. I deserve that much. Deserve that much for this. Using a cheat code shouldn't be a problem. Let's do that. Let's just use a code. Here we go. I want to see the rest of the game, so let's just use a code. What kind of code should we use? Well, there's a code that'll start you off in that bridge before the ring wraiths are, but like with the whole party, which is cool because now I can have the fellowship, but then still go through the game like normal. We'll see. Yeah, I'm cheating, but you know what? I don't care. It's my game. It's my show. If I'm gonna cheat, I'm gonna do it. You do your own show if you don't want to cheat. Also, I dare you to play this game without cheating. Like, oh, God. So, here we go. Code. We got the whole fellowship together now. Let's see what's going on. Now that we have the whole party, we can check them out. We got the 4 hobbits, which is great. And this is where I noticed that something has gone horribly wrong. Their stats are crazy. Sam he's at 7,500 health, and he's only level 4. What? Meanwhile, here's Frodo with just shy of 200 health at level 19. Okay. And then Gimli has 1,300 health, but he's level 56. What is going on here? It puts us in control of Aragorn, who, like Frodo, has like normal, what I would consider to be normal stats. So doing this code process broke Sam and Gimli and made them both like god characters. Whatever, I'll take it at this point. What else? Like, just bring it on. So we can now resume the journey. We'll try to find that farm. That's the first thing I want to do, because I want to complete the game normally. I just want to figure out what the heck to do right. So we got the party assembled. Let's now proceed and find this farm. Well, as it turns out, the mistake that I was making before is that you can go into other spaces when you go down south. Those forested regions I was wandering around, I actually missed the spots where you can go right to find this farm that's being referenced in that little mysterious note. It's just hard to see. I mean, wow, like look at that. Like I couldn't tell, but there it is. So we find the farm. I guess it was under attack. Now it seems like the code is causing some problems for us. So it looks like giving us all the party members has automatically completed all of like the little events that you would have done to originally find them. This farm was under attack, but they're good now, and I guess whatever reward they would have given us, they've already given us. They talk about how you can repair a boat that would take you across the river to bypass the bridge where the ring wraiths are on, but that's already been done, so we can just do that now. We can just cross the river and continue from there, which is exactly what I'm gonna do. So we'll press onward toward Rivendell, I suppose, and we'll see if we can work toward completing the game. Yeah, you know what? I know I skipped a bunch of content with the code, but I just don't care. This is a game that prioritized getting glasses over destroying the core of evil of Sauron. Like, the disconnect there is staggering. I have no respect for it. So we're just gonna keep on trucking through. Eventually, we find our way to Rivendell, which is where we get our directions to the final part of the game. We get told, hey, it's time to go to Moria. We gotta pass through Moria. That's the big dungeon that we were preparing for this entire time. Now, here's where I must make an observation. Here's how the game should have been put together. Instead of you hitting a wall where a character says, "Excuse me, you don't have the gateway gem that you would have gotten from the Hobbit caves, go back and get it." Instead of that happening, you should be able to go right through there. You should be able to be Frodo at the beginning and solo all the way through to Moria at the end of the game. Because hey, if your party members can be killed, that means that there's a theoretical outcome where you beat the game with only your player-controlled character, right? So the whole game could have been about preparing for the final dungeon. Did you recruit everybody? Did you get the cool upgrades and items? Kind of like Mass Effect 2, how the whole game is kind of built around preparing for the final mission. getting your squad mates, making them loyal to you, upgrading the ship. A ton of that is optional. And you can go into that game's finale completely unprepared and have everything go catastrophically wrong. Everyone can die. Practically everyone can die for the most part. Like, it's interesting. This game could have done something similar, like a what if with this Moria sequence. Like, do you go in alone as just Frodo, level it up as much as you can, and tackle the darkness alone? Do you bring your party members? Do you recruit everybody? Do they have good gear? Are they leveled up enough? No. The game doesn't want to do that. The game wants to force you to do stupid stuff and wander through the dark to find a gem on the ground. That's not earning your way to the finale. You're just like finding this thing arbitrarily. It's stupid. Whatever. Now that we're here though, we can press onward to Moria, which I gotta say, it's pretty cool to like actually be able to like freely walk in of your own accord. It's kind of neat to see like the doorway and everything. That's cool. I like that scenery. So, time for the final part of the game. Time for the Mines of Moria. So here we are, we're in Moria, the game's final major area, and it is just all of the complaints just come together to make a super thing of awful. Every complaint I made about the Hobbit caves are here times 10. Those Hobbit caves were not a beginner's tutorial on how these dungeons are supposed to work. It threw you right into the deep end, as does this one, but it adds more chaos on top of it. So the Hobbit caves were just, you gotta explore them and that's the end of it. Moria, it's like 10 different levels, each of which is anywhere from the same size as those Hobbit caves to multiple times the size of them. They're enormous. Like Moria, all the different levels of Moria laid out is probably bigger than the rest of the game. Like all the game's areas, that whole overworld, Hobbiton, the Wolf Kill Zone, the other area, the caves, all of Moria is probably as big as all of that. All of that. Like, it's crazy how big it is. And of course, you can't just walk through it. One does not simply walk through Moria. Oh no, you gotta find specific items, these magical books and tomes to unlock certain doors. But it's not linear. Like, you don't find, oh look, here's a book, a tome. It works on any door, like a Zelda key, like would. There's two types of keys, regular keys and boss keys, simple as that. Oh no. They are specific. You find a tome, it'll be like, you found tome number 7. Like, it only works on door number 7. Where's door number 7? Get a map, loser. I'm not gonna tell you everything. That's how it is. They're specific. It means that you're going like all over the place. This place has like 10 or 11 levels to it, but we're not talking like verticality. They're just spread all over the place. Like, you may enter one and that one forks off to like 3 other ones and they're interconnected. So you would go through area 1, connects to area 3, where you find key number 4, go back to area 1, progress to area 2, and then use the key to go to area 4 from there, come back, go to 3, go to 7. Like, that's how it is. It's awful. I hate every minute of it. It's what made me have to look up an actual guide for the game to find a map. That's all I wanted was a map. You need the map. I can't believe, like, it would take you 20 hours to figure this out with like no help. Like, I can't, you'd have to draw your own map. That's the only way. Because on top of all that confusion, they're doing the same thing where they repeat the scenery. I walked through the same corridors and causeways 20 times. So without the map, you'd never know where you are. You get confused because you're like, oh, I've been through this before. Oh, there are so few unique areas in the game in its entirety. It's very disappointing and very disorienting. Oh my God. But after 75 years of wandering through the dark, you know, it actually took them, like in the novels and the game or whatever, in the movies, it took him like days to get through the mines of Moria. That's what it feels like here. So after struggling for days, we finally get to the end of Moria, which is where the Bridge of Khazad-dûm and the Balrog await. It starts off with the section where it's finally looking different. We have the whole party together. Gandalf is here and everything. That's cool. He's back. Gandalf's back. Woo! And we get this thing saying Doom! Doom! Who is saying Doom and why? Okay. But this is it. We're at the end. It's the final part of the game. The final obstacle of this area is not another door with another key. Oh no. It's the Balrog. I gotta say, the Balrog's design looks pretty cool. The description of this creature in the book is a little bit vague, leaving it up to the imagination of the reader to kind of envision the terror. Every movie does a little bit differently. Like the animated film was like a lion man with wings and a whip. He looked pretty dumb. The Jackson version was pretty cool. It was like a fire monster coming out of the deep, demon from the dark. I like that one quite a bit. This one is kind of both. It's like a fire monster, but also like a otherworldly, like kind of demon-looking thing. And that's pretty cool. He has this big old flame sword. He only does two things. He moves and he attacks. A little disappointing. He's only got the sword. He does a big sword smash. That's his only move. And it hits hard. Playing as Aragorn, you can only take about 3 hits before you're dead. If Aragorn dies, it's game over. It's not the case with other people. Obviously, you only get game over if like Frodo and or Aragorn dies. Everyone else is expendable. Just like the films and the book. So, okay. To attack him, you gotta hit him in between his attacks. To do that, you gotta reach him. To do that, you gotta beat the edge of this cliff. So we're all at the edge of the cliff, just going like, ah, take that, Balrog. You shan't do it no more. You just gotta poke him to death. It's unclear how much damage you're really doing. He didn't have a health bar or anything. You're just kind of going at it. Everyone kind of gets their licks in, but a lot of the party members will die pretty quick. It only takes about, 4 or 5 of his attacks before everyone except for a handful are dead. Mainly Gimli and Sam, because both of them have the highest busted health pools, but neither of them are particularly strong. Sam especially has pretty low attack power, so this is going to be pretty tough. You just kind of gotta get attacks in between his moves and just watch out. It isn't too hard to find a good pattern. It also helps when Gimli decides he can fly and he attacks the Balrog in the air, which is cool. I bet you didn't know the dwarves could fly. That's neat. I died quite a bit to this thing because I don't know if I can rely on party members alone to beat him. So, what else can we do? Well, you can upgrade weapons by finding better weapons in the field, and as it turns out, this area actually can be explored somewhat. It's not just the Balrog here. There's also an upgraded sword and a upgraded axe for Gimli to have. So, with better weapons in hand, we can see how we can fare. And it's not really going good. Alright, I guess we'll just persist. Just persistence is the key. This game is just one huge test of patience. It's like this game is daring you to turn it off and go do anything else. But if you do that, the game wins. Ooh, it's a good idea. Have a boss with like 42 million health. I don't think that the problem is my level. I mean, I'm killing most enemies in this place in like 1 or 2 hits. And even the big orcs go down pretty quickly. The giant, colossal-sized ones are dealt with pretty fast. So I feel like I'm not under-leveled, so what else could it be? Well, doing some offhanded research, allegedly, those upgraded weapons I found have a glitch associated with them, and they do no damage. Can you go back to your old weapons? Can't do that. Why would you want to do that? So you can win the game? You don't do that. So what do you do? Well, if I wasn't playing this game on my Retron 5, that would be the end. I would take the cartridge and I would destroy it with whatever tool I find first. Maybe a hammer. But seeing as I'm using a Retron 5 and I created save states at all of the major checkpoints in the game, I like to do that. Any game I play that offers like multiple save slots, I like to save every major milestone so I can go back and experience the game wherever I want. Going back to Mass Effect 2, for example, I saved after every mission. So if I want to replay one particular storyline, just to sit down and play, like let's just play the mission where like that cool thing happens, I can do that. So much the same, I did the same thing with this game. I happened to have a save state that was captured right when I first entered the area where the Balrog is. And if I didn't do that, wow, I can't, that's just like dumb luck. So, keeping in mind that those other weapons are junk, let's throw ourselves at the Balrog one last time and go for it. After it's like 25 minutes of just hitting this thing in between its own attacks, the Balrog is finally defeated, and it dies just like every other enemy in the game does. Just a little, and then it's poof, he's gone. How ceremonious! The final boss of the game! Yeah! Celebrate! Well, we're finally done, and we can exit Moria. We lost Gandalf and Legolas in that, and Merry, and Pippin. The only survivors are Frodo, Sam, Gimli, and Aragorn. No one else mattered. They weren't important. It's fine. As we move toward the woods of Lothlorien, we get little messages to talk about. Oh, you feel the wind on your face, and oh, we lost Gandalf, and we're sorry. You lost a lot more than Gandalf, but sure, yeah, alright. And we meet up with Lady Galadriel, who is just really trying to get us through these scenes. The game was dragging its ass before, now it's like, go, go, go! There's Galadriel, she's got the fountain thing. Look into it right now! And we go right to the scene where Frodo looks into the fountain, and he sees the Shire burning, and it's the Eye of Sauron is there. All while the stupid dainty music plays over it, because yeah, once again, the gravity of this scene, further enhanced by this soundtrack. It's perfect. It's complete now. I made it better. That's the special edition of that. Made it better. I don't know. Why are you scared about that, though? It's just an illusion. Ain't something that's really there. What the?
Gary!
I have returned. I sensed the game was complete. Oh, jeez! What did you do? The evil is being unleashed.
I don't know why it's doing that. I beat the game like you said.
Or did you use a cheat code?
Okay, maybe I used a cheat code, but I mean, come on. I beat the game, right?
You're supposed to beat the game fairly, you wimp!
Alright, I'm sorry for using the cheat code. The game is boring. The dungeons are massive and there was no map, and Pippin was killed by wolves and then by bats. Man, it was a nightmare. Just get rid of the thing already, come on!
I must now contend with this formidable foe. Stand back! I must stop it. If it continues, it'll install itself onto every game in the world. Everyone will know it's evil. I will stop it. You cannot install. I am a servant of Nintendo Power, wielder of Game Pass, Microtransactions will not avail you! Flame of early access! You cannot install! It has passed. The evil has been vanquished.
It's a close one. Good to be back.
I will now return and do anything else than this, really.
Why didn't you just do your stupid ritual to begin with and spare all the stuff in between? Play this awful game! That killed Pippin twice! Three times, actually. The Balrog got him. Many more if you count the subsequent attempts.
What do you mean? There is purpose in the journey itself. Think on this. It is not always about the destination, after all. You'll figure it out.
Lesson is there to be learned from that? It's all about the journey? What the journey of what? The journey of the game that almost burned down my house? Stupid licensed games? Always crap. At least until recently. Oh, but wait a minute. I'm acting like the licensed game's only been good recently. Like, for me, the licensed game renaissance kicked off in like 2013, 2014. A lot of games like Alien Isolation, Shadow of Mordor, and many others followed based off of existing franchises that are really good. A good recent example is like that Spider-Man game by Insomniac. It's a licensed game. It's very good. But there's stuff that came earlier. Lord of the Rings itself, Return of the King, based off the movie. That's a movie licensed game. That's like the pinnacle combination of awful disaster. But that game's good. So maybe I have been judging it too harshly. I mean, after all, not every game can be the 10 out of 10 innovator that inspires a generation to follow. Not every game can be that landmark title. It's probably unfair to compare games of yesterday to games of today in that sense, because not everyone can be the giant example of which everyone else follows. There have to be missteps for there to be learning experiences, for there to then follow perfection. So that's what this game is. It's just a misstep that led to other games improving upon it. What good things can I grab from this? Well, I will say it has a nice art style. The graphics are nice and detailed. Like I think they're more than sufficient for their time. They could have been a little more detailed, but at the same time, I think the minimalist approach to certain parts of it, like how the characters look on the overworld, kind of lends itself to creating a nice little art style to it. It's also easy to lose yourself in a nice kind of peaceful flow when you're exploring the world in between Hobbiton and Moria. Like it was kind of nice, and I was kind of having fun. Not gonna lie. The Moria stuff was pretty tedious, but similarly, like graphically speaking, it had a nice kind of design to it. The repetitious scenery definitely sucked, but the scenery itself was kind of well detailed, and it all had a nice mood to it that made it feel like you're in a cave and you're in Moria and it's all foreboding and evil and whatnot. So I'll give it that. I wish it had more soundtracks, because the goofy music over serious scenes definitely harmed things, but at the end of the day, I'd say it's probably just a fair, average game. I would say it's probably worth playing again to try to get to those parts that I skipped. Because who knows, I might have skipped some pretty good stuff. I'll never know, because I let my frustration and prejudices get the better of me. So that's a learning experience there. But going back to the idea of it being a misstep that other things that followed would improve upon, I mean, sure, the original Zelda for NES had maps for its dungeons. You know, they're really basic, so I'm not expecting anything grandiose for this game, but I guess A Link to the Past and Super Metroid must have come out after this, because their world design and the way that the players are guided through it is much more sophisticated and lends itself to a better experience. Metroid in particular, having a map of the world as you explore is super handy. Understand that when I'm asking for a map, maps in games like this aren't cheats. They don't have to tell you where to go, but they help you track where you've been, where you can go from there. When you have a giant open world, having a map is definitely helpful. So, given that this game lacks a lot of the conventions that other games around the same time had, this one must have come out first. Oh, it didn't. Never mind. It sucks. I learned nothing. Licensed games are terrible. Good night, everybody.